It starts with a jolt. You're cruising along in your 2017 Silverado, foot steady on the gas, when out of nowhere, thunk. The truck lurches forward like it just got rear-ended by a ghost. It's not a one-off. It happens again the next day, and again the next week. Transmission slipping. Dealer says it'll be $3,000 to fix. Welcome to owning the worst-rated Silverado of the past decade. But what if I told you that not all Silverados are created equal? Some years have been quietly racking up hundreds of complaints while others roll along without breaking a sweat. To really understand which years to avoid and which are shockingly reliable, we need to zoom out and look at the full picture. Let's get into it. The year to run from? 2017. 2017 should have been a great year. General Motors had a few years of the third-generation Silverado under their belt. The bugs should have been worked out. But instead, 2017 became the year the transmission issues exploded. Owners started flooding forums and complaint sites with reports of rough shifts, hard jerks, and weird surges at low speeds. Some trucks would jump forward like a roller coaster lurching out of the station. The most common phrase? Feels like it's falling apart. CarComplaints.com calls it out clearly. 2017 had a massive spike in reported issues, nearly all centered around the transmission. J.D. Power backed that up, listing transmission smoothness as a top owner complaint within the first 90 days. Consumer Reports? They gave it a 1 out of 5 in reliability. That's as bad as it gets. But 2017 wasn't the only year with big issues. In fact, one of the most complained about Silverados ever didn't suffer from a transmission problem at all. And that brings us to the AC disaster of 2014. 2014 was the debut of the third-generation Silverado. GM came out swinging with new tech, a new look, and big promises. But they missed hard. The problem wasn't the engine. It wasn't even the transmission. It was something far more basic: air conditioning. Thousands of owners complained about the HVAC system, specifically that it just stopped working. Blowing hot air in the middle of summer, no defrost in the winter, fans cutting out randomly. The kicker? Despite all the complaints, GM didn't issue a recall for the AC system. So if yours broke, you were paying out of pocket, usually around $1,000 to fix it. According to Car Complaints, 2014 has the most logged complaints of any Silverado in this generation. Not great for a launch year. But what's interesting is that Consumer Reports gave it a higher score than 2017. So while the AC may drive you nuts, at least your truck isn't lunging into traffic. Now, if 2017 is the worst and 2014 is frustratingly flawed, where does that leave the rest? Well, one model year quietly rose to the top. The quiet winner, 2018. If you're looking for the best of this generation, 2018 is it. J.D. Power gave it the highest rating of any third-gen Silverado, 85 out of 100. Car Complaints shows a dramatic drop in issues compared to previous years. And while Consumer Reports didn't shower it with praise, they also didn't throw it under the bus. The big reason? By 2018, GM had worked out most of the major kinks. Transmission issues were way down. AC problems weren't nearly as widespread. It was the last year before a redesign, so the truck had the benefit of several years of production tweaks without the risk of brand new bugs. Is it perfect? Number. But if you want a used Silverado from this era that's likely to keep running without surprise repair bills, 2018 is your best bet. But there's a catch. Some issues don't show up until long after the warranty runs out, which brings us to the problem with predictive reliability. Here's something most people don't think about. Just because a truck doesn't have a lot of current complaints doesn't mean it's reliable. Some problems don't show up until 60,000 or 70,000 miles. And that's often after Consumer Reports or J.D. Power stops collecting data. That's why predictive reliability matters. It looks at past issues to try and guess what's coming down the road. And for the Silverado, the forecast isn't exactly sunny. Consumer Reports says 7 other full-size trucks rank higher in reliability. Even newer models like the 2019 and 2020 Silverados score just 1 out of 5. And those are trucks that are only a few years old. That's a red flag. So if you're buying a used Silverado, don't just look at the complaints now. Think about the stuff that might show up when it's too late to turn back. And speaking of newer models, there's a myth that the newer the truck, the better. But that's not always true. Why newer doesn't always mean better? It's tempting to think that a 2019 or 2020 Silverado must be better than one from 2014. Newer design, more features, better build quality, right? Not necessarily. While the 2019 model was a total redesign, it came with its own problems. Transmission hesitation, infotainment glitches, poor panel alignment, and electrical gremlins all popped up. And just like 2017, the issues started showing up early in ownership. In fact, by the time the 2020 Silverado hit the road, it already had 4 recalls on file. 2019 had 5. Compare that to 2018, which had relatively few complaints or recalls. Newer trucks also come with more complex electronics, which can be harder and more expensive to fix once they start acting up. So before you chase the newest model you can afford, ask yourself, do you want fancy features or a truck that just works? And that brings us to one last question. Are any Silverados actually bulletproof? The truth? No Silverado is completely bulletproof. Every truck has weak spots, but some years hold up better than others. If you want a Silverado from the 3rd generation, 2014 to 2018, here's the quick guide. Avoid 2017. Transmission nightmares. Watch out for 2014. HVAC problems galore. Consider 2015 to 2016. Mixed bag. Better than 2014. Worse than 2017. 2018. Go for 2018. Fewer issues, highest owner satisfaction. Be cautious with 2019 to 2020. Too new to trust, early issues reported. Silverados can be great trucks, but only if you pick the right year. At the end of the day, buying a used truck isn't about luck. It's about knowing what you're getting into. And when it comes to the Silverado, the year you choose can mean the difference between a smooth ride and a money pit. So whether you're browsing used listings or already test driving one, remember, don't let a shiny body and a clean interior fool you. Dig into the year, check the complaints, and make sure you're not buying into someone else's headache. Because the right Silverado, it'll do everything you need. The wrong one? You'll be Googling transmission rebuild cost before you hit your first oil change.